never in great shape. And normally people who wrestle are in, like, decent shape. But, I mean, I had baby fat until I was, like, 25 years old. Like, just being honest, you know? So I was a chubby, porky little fucker when I was, like, 14. 8th grade, I learned this one wrestling move that I've, like, used on people, like, in my real life since then, like, to put them down. And I was undefeated. So I get brought on, like, I get called up, like, you really got to join freshman wrestling. That was, you know, you had a great season. And I signed up for it. And I wasn't very good, but there was one dude who was in the same weight class as me. And I could always beat him with this one wrestling move. I knew what he would do every time, so I got all the varsity spots for that weight class because there was only the two of us, and he would do a wrestle-off, and I could always beat him. Now, he would have won probably half his matches. I didn't win any of them, but I was, like, you know, just fat as fuck. So, like, totally, this actually has nothing to do with the point of the story. The point of the story is with fucking wrestling, these weight classes are fucking unbelievable what they do to high school kids. I used to watch people fucking force themselves to shit so they could make weight before a match. I would see dudes who were underweight, they'd starve themselves for 2 days without eating food. And these are high schoolers who are supposed to be like, who are teenagers, who are growing, right? Who need energy and who need food to continue, like, to grow, like, in their bodies. Depriving themselves of food at 16 years old, 17 years old. I saw a dude, he was like, okay, I'm 8 ounces underweight. He grabbed a sandwich, put it on a scale to make sure that it didn't weigh more than the amount that he was underweight so that he could eat it before he had to go weigh in. There was one time I was 2 pounds overweight before a match. And I was, like, given gum, because they say just chew gum and keep spitting, so dehydrate yourself, basically.
Right.
And then I put on a bunch of fucking, like, sweat clothes and had to walk and run around a gym for, like, an hour and a half before the weigh-in. And I cut 2 pounds in, like, an hour and a half. Like,
That's
just to just fucking make that shit happen. Yeah. It's the insane shit what they're doing to kids. Like, it's so fucking stupid. And for nothing.
Yeah, it's so inconsequential, it's laughable. But they still are that strict about it for... I mean, it just feels like... I feel like every high school coach of anything is just trying to relive their high school career in whatever sport that they were in. So that's why they're just so gung-ho about it. But, like, at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of kids playing a game. Like, no matter what it is. Like, I understand there's a competitiveness, which I've never been all that competitive at all. So that's why I didn't fit in. Because as much as I enjoy the sport of football, I couldn't stand, like, it's not that I didn't care if we won or lost the game, but the mentality that circulates in the locker room and while you're playing on a team sport of just like, it's like live or die. Every game is like, you know, the end of the world. Like I never subscribed to that. And you know, especially at that age, like the only reason I was really in football is because my dad made me join some sport. He's like, you can't just be sitting in the house all the time, which I fucking even wasn't. I wasn't just sitting around playing video games all the time. I mean, I like to do that at night, but in the day, like I used to skateboard and shit. Like it's not like I wasn't doing anything, but I don't know why that mentality exists in, seems like a dad thing where it's like, if you're not in organized sports, you're not doing anything. It's like,
Well, so I do believe in the value of organized sports, and I believe in all the things that they say that they're good for. Like, it's good to care about, like, coming together with other people for a common goal. It's good to learn how to work with others. It's good to face adversity and overcome it. You know, it's good to do all these, like, team-building things. But the problem is that, like, that all falls apart when you see the people who are administering or the parental figures or the coaches, like you're saying, where you're like, no, you really don't care about how much, like, we learn how to work together. really, even though this is just a high school football game, you really care about whether we win or not, So,
Right.
like, get out of here with this bullshit about, like, oh, we're trying to teach you about, like, what it's going to be like as when you're an adult, Like, we're trying to teach you through sports, like, about working with other people. If you were trying to do that, you would welcome every single person. You wouldn't have tryouts. You wouldn't have anything. You'd welcome everybody onto the team, and you'd figure out how to make it all work together. Now, of course, like, you can't have 100-person sideline, and the other team has 50 people. So you might only need, like, there might be a reason to have rules that say you can only have this many people on your team, which then constitutes for tryouts. My school wasn't that big. We had tryouts for nothing. You wanted to play something, you signed up, you played it. Because we needed everybody, they needed everybody you could get. But the point is that, like, don't tell me it's about strengthening myself or, like, all these team building things when you just are going to, like, oh, that kid, like, is kind of dumb and fat. He's excluded from the club. Like, if we're really trying to help people build better,
right,
self-esteem and all these things that come with competition, like, and what I just want to say about competition real quickly is I'm with you. Like, I don't see the point in working so hard to try to just win. But I'll also say this, like, I find myself to be competitive in a very different sort of way. I really want to win at everything I do so much that I won't do anything that I'm not going to win at. Like, that's my level of competition. I'm not going to I'm going to go home and work hard. It's just like, no, I want to be better at this than you before you ever know that I can do it. And then we can start the competition.
Right. I guess I get that. Yeah. Like, I've never really been in that position. Like, as I said, I'm not a competitive person, but all the same, I kind of do the same thing as far as, like, it comes from a place of, like, I don't want to embarrass myself. So, like, if I don't think I can be, like, present myself as doing something well, I tend to avoid it.
See, that's competitive. That's what I'm telling you. That actually is being competitive. It's just that you don't want to show weakness. It's a different side of it.
Yeah.
That's something I came to terms with. It's honestly something I used to say, I'm not competitive. And I go, no, you're so competitive that you never want to lose. And I'm not saying it's exactly the same for you, but that's what I came to terms with myself.
Yeah, I guess, like, you're not wrong. For me, I'd put it more on the spectrum of like, a fear of embarrassment rather than a desire to win, if that makes any sense.
Actually, that's for me too. That's dead on. Yep, yeah.
So that's where.
But I also, so you're dead on. But I do want to say that I still believe that is born out of a want to be better than others, which is competitiveness. The fear of embarrassment is saying that I can't ever show weakness, that I can be worse at something than somebody else. So in its natural state, if you will, that is competition. It's just saying that, like, I'm such a sore loser that I can't even handle embarrassing myself. You know what I mean? Like, in a little bit of a way.
Right. Yeah, you got a point there.
And I like it. I'll just be honest. It's a very recent thought process that I've had, and it has a lot to do with that the online jobs I do, where I'm just constantly taking, like, psychological surveys, and they're asking you, like, are you this? Are you that? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And when you start doing these sort of jobs, you go with the programmed answer that you tell yourself, like, I'm not competitive. I'm not this. I'm not that, because this is how I've trained myself to feel about myself. But then as you answer those questions, like, more and more and more, and you actually start to think about them, like, am I competitive? Am I this? And it starts to sink in more and more and goes, no, that actually I am fucking competitive. I'm not just giving the answers I think that I want to give to present myself in the best way. Because it sounds good, right? It sounds nice to say I'm not competitive. But then when you go, but I must be. I must be competitive if it's that hard for me to show that I'm bad at something. If I can't show that I'm bad at something, I must have some deep fucking desire to care about how good I am at it. And what is that deep desire to care about how good you are at something? That's fucking competition. Even if it's just with yourself. Yeah.
Definitely. I think if you're ready to land this plane, that's a pretty good one for the road.
Let's bring her all down. That's my one for the road. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you summed it up real good
recently. Yeah.
All right, creeps. Well, thank you once again for listening. This has been The Loose Stool with Matt and Nick, part 2 of this very special episode for you guys. If you'd like to follow us on social media, that is at Loose Stool Pod on Twitter. If you'd like to buy us our next beer, that is The Loose Stool on Patreon. We hope you're all doing well out there, and we'll see you next week.
We went deep.
Mm-hmm.